Dr. Sarachin pressed her face against the observation deck's reinforced viewport, watching the impossible sight that filled their forward view. The black hole designated Charybdis 7 dominated space before them, its event horizon a perfect sphere of absolute darkness surrounded by the brilliant accretion disk of superheated matter spiraling to its doom. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Captain Marcus Webb's voice carried a mixture of awe and concern as he joined her at the viewport. "And terrifying." Sarah nodded, her instruments recording every detail of the gravitational monster that had trapped their ship. The research vessel Horizon's Edge had been investigating quantum anomalies in the Kepler 442 system when their experimental quantum engines had malfunctioned, creating an uncontrolled fold in spacetime that had deposited them here, in the gravitational embrace of one of the galaxy's most dangerous objects. "Any word from engineering?" Sarah asked, though she could read the answer in Marcus's expression. "Chief Petrosky says the quantum matrix is completely fried. The dimensional fold we created to get here destabilized our entire drive system. We're running on backup fusion engines only." Sarah felt her stomach drop. Backup fusion engines were sufficient for normal space travel, but they lacked the power to escape a black hole's gravity well. They were trapped, slowly spiraling inward toward an inevitable death. "How long?" she asked quietly. "At current trajectory, we'll reach the point of no return in 67 hours, Marcus replied. "After that, not even light can escape." Sarah turned away from the viewport and made her way through the ship's corridors toward the engineering section. The Horizon's Edge was one of humanity's most advanced exploration vessels, equipped with quantum engines that could fold spacetime itself and allow faster-than-light travel. But those same engines had become their death sentence when the experimental technology failed catastrophically. The engineering bay was a chaos of activity as Chief Engineer Dmitry Petrosky and his team worked frantically to repair systems that had never been designed to handle the kind of stress they'd endured. Quantum processing units lay scattered across workbenches, their crystalline matrices dark and cracked. "Sarah!" Petrosky looked up from a particularly damaged component, his usually cheerful face grim with exhaustion. "Perhaps you can tell me how we're supposed to repair quantum technology when half our diagnostic equipment is telling us that we don't exist anymore." Sarah examined the broken matrix in his hands. The quantum processors were the heart of their faster-than-light drive, able to manipulate the fabric of reality itself. But the energy signatures she was reading were unlike anything in her database. "Dmitry, these readings," she said slowly, "they're not showing damage. They're showing evolution." "What do you mean?" "The quantum matrices haven't been destroyed. They've been transformed. The dimensional fold didn't just transport us through space, it changed the fundamental nature of our quantum technology." Petrosky's eyes widened. "Changed how?" Before Sarah could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Emergency lighting bathed the engineering bay in hellish red as the crew rushed to their stations. "All senior staff to the bridge immediately." Captain Webb's voice echoed through the intercom. "We have a situation." Sarah and Petrosky made their way quickly through the ship's corridors, following the emergency lighting toward the bridge. When they arrived, they found the command crew staring at the main display screen in stunned silence. "What is it?" Sarah asked. Webb pointed at the screen, where long-range sensors showed something impossible. "There's another ship out there. And it's heading directly toward the black hole." Sarah studied the sensor readings. The vessel was unlike anything in human databases, sleek and organic-looking, with what appeared to be living tissue forming parts of its hull. More importantly, it was accelerating toward Charybdis 7 at speeds that should have been impossible without quantum engines. "How are they moving so fast?" she wondered aloud. "That's not the strangest part." Lieutenant Commander Torres spoke up from the tactical station. "Watch this." The alien ship suddenly changed course, executing a maneuver that defied everything Sarah knew about physics. It seemed to slip sideways through space, avoiding a chunk of debris from the accretion disk without altering its velocity. "They're not just immune to the black hole's gravity," Torres continued. "They're using it. Those course corrections are being powered by gravitational manipulation." Sarah felt her heart racing. They had discovered alien life, and these beings possessed technology that could potentially save them all. But first, they had to make contact. Any response to our communication attempts? Webb asked. Nothing on conventional frequencies, the communications officer reported. But I'm detecting strange quantum fluctuations from their ship. It's almost like they're trying to communicate through the fabric of space-time itself. Sarah's mind raced. If the aliens were using quantum communication, then their transformed quantum matrices might be the key to establishing contact. Captain, I need to try something, she said. Our damaged quantum systems might be able to interface with their communication method. Webb nodded. Do it. Sarah returned to engineering with renewed urgency, working alongside Petrovsky to jury-rig a communication array using their transformed quantum processors. It was dangerous. They were essentially trying to communicate by manipulating reality itself, but it might be their only chance. As the makeshift array came online, Sarah felt a strange sensation, as if the universe around her had suddenly become more real. Then, without warning, her mind was filled with alien thoughts. Who are you that drifts so close to the maw of eternity? The voice was vast and strange, carrying harmonics that no human throat could produce. But somehow, through the quantum link, Sarah could understand it perfectly. We are humans, she projected back through the link. Our ship is damaged. We cannot escape the black hole's gravity. Humans. A young species? You have learned to fold space, but not to dance with gravity itself. Curious. Can you help us? Sarah asked desperately. Perhaps. But first, you must prove that your species is worthy of salvation. The Maw has shown us many civilizations that claim to seek knowledge, but used it only for destruction. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. This was clearly a test, but what kind? And what would happen if humanity failed? The alien ship, which its inhabitants called the Gravitational Harmony, docked with the horizon's edge through what Sarah could only describe as a controlled manipulation of spacetime itself. The two vessels didn't physically connect. Instead, the aliens created a pocket of stable spacetime between them, allowing passage through what appeared to be empty vacuum. Sarah found herself standing in an airlock that shouldn't have been able to exist, breathing atmosphere that had somehow been borrowed from both ships simultaneously. The alien technology didn't just bend the rules of physics, it rewrote them entirely. The being that greeted her was unlike anything she had ever imagined. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, with a body that seemed to shift between states of matter. Sometimes it appeared solid, with skin that looked like living metal. Other times it became translucent, revealing an internal structure that pulsed with energy patterns that hurt to look at directly. I am Conductor Vextera of the Graviton Collective, it said, its voice resonating through the quantum link rather than through any conventional vocal apparatus. You are the one called Sarah Chin, yes? Your mind resonates with quantum frequencies. Unusual for your species. Most humans can't interface directly with quantum systems, Sarah admitted. I've always been something of an anomaly. Anomalies often become catalysts for evolution, Vextera replied. Come. There is much you must see before we determine your species' fate. Sarah followed the alien through corridors that defied architectural logic. The walls curved in directions that shouldn't have been possible, and gravity seemed to be merely a suggestion rather than a law. Other beings moved through the ship, each one different from the last, some gaseous, others crystalline, still others that appeared to be made of pure energy held in geometric patterns. Your crew, Sarah said. They're not all the same species. The collective encompasses 47 different forms of life, Vextera explained. We are united not by biology, but by our understanding of the fundamental forces that govern reality. Each species contributes its unique perspective to our collective knowledge. They entered what Sarah assumed was the ship's bridge, though it looked more like the inside of a living organism than any control center she had ever seen. Beings of various species worked at stations that seemed to grow from the ship's organic walls, their interactions with the technology appearing more like a conversation than manual operation. Observe, Vextera said, gesturing toward a central display that showed their location relative to Charybdis 7. Your species has created impressive technology for one so young. These quantum engines that fold space-time are a significant achievement. But they are crude, inefficient, and dangerous. Sarah bristled at the criticism but forced herself to remain diplomatic. They've allowed us to explore beyond our solar system for the first time in our history. Yes, and they have also created the instability that threatens to destroy your ship, Bextera pointed out. True mastery of space-time requires harmony with the forces you seek to control, not domination over them. The alien manipulated the display, showing Sarah a three-dimensional map of the local spacetime around the black hole. She could see gravitational currents and quantum fluctuations represented as flowing streams of light, creating a complex web of forces that extended far beyond the visible matter of the accretion disk. This is how we navigate, Bextera explained. We do not fight against gravity, we dance with it. We do not tear holes in space-time, we convince it to bend. Your species approaches technology as if the universe were an opponent to be conquered rather than a partner to be understood. Sarah studied the display, beginning to understand. The gravitational harmony wasn't just immune to the black hole's pull, it was using the massive object's gravitational field as a source of power and propulsion. It was the difference between a cork fighting against a river current and a fish swimming with it. But that's not why I brought you here, Bextera continued. The collective has encountered many species in our travels through the galaxy. Some we have aided in their development. Others, the alien's form seemed to darken. Others we have been forced to quarantine. Quarantine? Species that use their technology for destruction, that seek to dominate rather than understand, that would spread violence and chaos throughout the galaxy. They are confined to their systems of origin and prevented from achieving interstellar travel. Sarah felt a chill. And you're here to determine which category humanity falls into. Precisely. Your quantum engines represent a crucial threshold in technological development. In the hands of a peaceful, curious species, they could lead to wonders beyond imagination. In the hands of a violent, aggressive species, they could destabilize entire star systems. The display changed, showing images that Sarah recognized as being from Earth's history: wars, environmental destruction, the development of nuclear weapons. It was clear the aliens had been watching humanity for some time. Your species has shown both promise and concerning tendencies, Bextera continued. You have created beautiful art, made great scientific discoveries, and shown remarkable compassion for other life forms. But you have also engaged in devastating wars, destroyed your own environment, and developed weapons capable of rendering your homeworld uninhabitable. We're learning, Sarah said desperately. We've made mistakes, but we're trying to do better. Perhaps. But words are insufficient. The collective requires proof of your species' intentions. You will be given a choice, Sarah Chen. Your quantum engines can be repaired and improved, allowing your ship to escape this gravitational well. But the knowledge we share with you will come with conditions. Sarah waited, her heart pounding. If you accept our aid, humanity will be required to submit to collective oversight for the next 1,000 of your years. Your space travel will be monitored, your weapons development restricted, your expansion into the galaxy carefully controlled. In exchange, you will gain access to technologies that will solve your energy problems, cure your diseases, and allow you to explore the universe safely. And if we refuse? Bextera's form seemed to solidify, becoming more threatening. Then you will remain here until your ship's life support fails, and your quantum engine technology will be classified as too dangerous for your species to possess. Any future attempts by humanity to develop faster than light travel will be discouraged. Sarah felt the weight of her entire species' future resting on her shoulders. It wasn't just about saving the crew of the Horizon's Edge, it was about determining whether humanity would be allowed to join the galactic community or be forever confined to their own solar system. How long do I have to decide? The decision must be made soon. Your ship continues to drift toward the event horizon, and even our technology cannot save you once you pass that point. But first, there is something else you must see. The collective has established research stations throughout this system, studying the effects of the black hole on space-time itself. Some of these stations orbit worlds that harbor life, life that exists in conditions your species would consider impossible. The display changed again, showing a planet orbiting dangerously close to Charybdis 7. The world was being torn apart by tidal forces, its surface a chaos of volcanic activity and gravitational storms. But somehow, impossibly, Sarah could see signs of civilization. Life has found a way to flourish even here, in the shadow of oblivion, Bextera said. These beings have learned to harness the power of gravitational chaos itself. They are one of many species we have encountered that thrive in conditions that would destroy most life forms. Sarah stared at the image in amazement. How is that possible? Life is more resilient and creative than most species realize. Given enough time and the right conditions, consciousness can emerge anywhere. The universe is far stranger and more wonderful than your scientists have yet imagined. As Sarah watched, she saw structures on the planet's surface that seemed to dance with the changing gravitational fields, cities that flowed like liquid while maintaining their architectural integrity. The beings that lived there had not just adapted to their extreme environment, they had made it an art form. This is what awaits humanity if you choose wisdom over conquest, Bextera said. A universe full of wonders beyond your current comprehension, populated by species that have learned to work with the fundamental forces of reality rather than against them. Sarah felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of the choice before her. Accept alien oversight and gain access to incredible knowledge, or maintain human independence and face potential quarantine from the galactic community. I need to discuss this with my crew, she said finally. Of course. But remember, time is not on your side. The event horizon approaches, and with it, the point where even the collective cannot save you. The observation lounge of the horizon's edge had been converted into an impromptu conference room where the ship's senior staff gathered to discuss humanity's future. Captain Webb sat at the head of the table, his weathered face grave as he listened to Sarah's report of her conversation with Conductor Vextera. So let me understand this correctly, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Lisa Park said, her voice tight with barely controlled anger. These aliens are offering to save us, but only if humanity agrees to become their subjects for the next 1,000 years. It's more nuanced than that, Sarah replied, though she understood Park's frustration. They're offering partnership and protection, with oversight to ensure we don't use their technology for destructive purposes. Partnership? Chief Engineer Petrovsky laughed bitterly. That's what they're calling it. When one partner has all the power and the other has none, that's not partnership, that's subjugation. And what's the alternative? Lieutenant Commander Torres asked quietly. We die here, and humanity remains forever trapped in our own solar system? Captain Webb raised a hand for silence. Let's focus on the facts. Sarah, in your assessment, are these aliens telling the truth about their capabilities? Can they really prevent humanity from developing faster than light travel? Sarah considered the question carefully. Based on what I've seen of their technology, yes. They can manipulate space-time itself with precision that makes our quantum engines look like stone tools. If they wanted to prevent human space travel, they could probably do it by making our local space-time too unstable for quantum fold operations. But they haven't done that yet, Torres pointed out. The fact that they're offering us a choice suggests they prefer cooperation to coercion. Or they're just more subtle about their coercion, Park countered. Making us think we have a choice while actually forcing us into the decision they want. Webb stood and walked to the viewport, where Charybdis 7 continued to dominate their view. There's another factor we need to consider. Even if we reject their offer and somehow manage to escape this situation, what happens when we return to Earth? Do we tell humanity about the existence of a galactic community that we're forbidden to join? Do we warn them that any attempt to develop better space travel technology will be stopped by alien intervention? The room fell silent as everyone contemplated the implications. Sarah realized that their choice wouldn't just affect the crew of the Horizon's Edge, it would determine the entire future trajectory of human civilization. There's something else, she said finally. Vextera offered to show me more of their research stations. They've found life forms that exist in conditions we considered impossible. If we accept their partnership, we'd gain access to scientific knowledge that could revolutionize our understanding of biology, physics, and the nature of consciousness itself. At the cost of our freedom, Petrosky muttered. But what is freedom worth if it comes with ignorance? Dr. Park asked, her medical training making her appreciate the potential benefits of alien knowledge. If they can cure diseases, solve our energy problems, and teach us to explore the universe safely, isn't that worth some restrictions on our autonomy? Webb returned to his seat. I think we need to hear more about what these aliens are offering before we make a final decision. Sarah, can you arrange another meeting with Vextera? I'd like to see these research stations for myself. Sarah nodded and activated the quantum communication link that had been established with the alien ship. Within moments, Vextera's distinctive mental presence filled her awareness. Captain Webb would like to see your research stations, she transmitted. Excellent. Understanding comes through observation. We will transport a delegation to Station Gamma 7, which orbits the innermost inhabited world in this system. Prepare 5 of your crew for quantum translation. Sarah opened her eyes and looked around the table. They're willing to take 5 of us to see one of their research stations. Who wants to volunteer? Every hand in the room went up. An hour later, Sarah found herself standing in another impossible space, a research station that existed in a stable orbit just outside the atmosphere of a world that was being simultaneously torn apart and reborn by tidal forces. Through the station's transparent walls, she could see the planet below, its surface flowing like liquid while somehow maintaining complex structures that defied physics. Welcome to the Parliament of Species, Vextera said, gesturing to the observation deck where beings of dozens of different forms worked together at research stations that seemed to grow from the living walls of the facility. Captain Webb stared in amazement at the diversity of life forms around them. Some were recognizably biological, with bodies based on carbon chemistry not unlike Earth life. Others appeared to be crystalline entities that communicated through harmonic vibrations. Still others seemed to be pure energy beings that existed as geometric patterns of light. This is just one research station, Vextera explained. We have others throughout the galaxy, each one dedicated to studying different aspects of reality. This particular station focuses on gravitational biology, life forms that have evolved to exist in extreme gravitational environments. Dr. Park was examining a display that showed the internal structure of one of the planet's inhabitants. This is incredible, she breathed. Their cellular structure isn't based on DNA at all. They use gravitational forces to store and transmit genetic information. Yes, Vextera replied. These beings, whom we call the Tide Dancers, have evolved beyond the need for chemical biology. They exist as patterns of organized gravity, able to reshape their forms at will to adapt to changing tidal forces. Sarah watched in fascination as the display showed Tide Dancers moving across their planet's surface. They flowed like liquid when the gravitational stress was high, then solidified into complex architectural forms when conditions stabilized. Their entire civilization was built around dancing with the cosmic forces that would destroy most life forms. How long did it take them to evolve this capability? Torres asked. Approximately 2 million years, Vextera replied. When their homeworld was first captured by this black hole, they were a conventional biological species not unlike your own. But instead of fleeing or dying, they chose to adapt. Each generation became more integrated with their environment, until they achieved their current form. Chief Engineer Petrosky was studying the technical displays with fascination. Their technology doesn't work against gravity, it works with it. They're using the black hole's tidal forces to power their entire civilization. Precisely. This is the lesson the collective seeks to teach all species we encounter. The universe is not an enemy to be conquered but a partner to be understood. Those who learn this lesson thrive beyond imagination. Those who do not. The display changed, showing images of dead worlds and empty space where civilizations had once existed. Sarah felt a chill as she realized these were species that had failed the collective's test, who had chosen domination over cooperation and paid the ultimate price. This is what we're offering humanity, Vextera continued. The chance to join this community of diverse intelligences, each contributing their unique perspective to our collective understanding of reality. But membership comes with responsibilities. You cannot be allowed to develop weapons that could destabilize space-time itself, or to spread violence throughout the galaxy. Captain Webb was studying one of the displays that showed the collective's territorial boundaries. How many species are currently under your oversight? 17 younger races are currently in the process of proving their readiness for full membership. Most transition to independence within a few centuries. Some require longer guidance. A few. Vextheraw's form darkened slightly. A few must remain under permanent restriction for the safety of all. And if humanity refuses your offer entirely? Then you will be classified as a potentially dangerous species and confined to your system of origin. Any attempts to develop faster-than-light technology will result in the destabilization of your local space-time, making such travel impossible. Sarah felt the weight of the decision pressing down on them. They weren't just choosing between life and death for their crew, they were choosing between isolation and integration for their entire species. "We need time to discuss this among ourselves," Webb said finally. "Of course. But remember, your ship continues to drift toward the event horizon. Even we cannot save you once you pass that point. You have perhaps 6 hours before the decision becomes academic." As they returned to the horizon's edge, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about the tide dancers and their beautiful adaptation to impossible conditions. Was humanity capable of such wisdom, or would they prove to be another species that chose destruction over growth? The fate of human civilization hung in the balance, and time was running out. The Horizon's Edge's mess hall had never hosted a debate quite like this one. Nearly the entire crew had crowded into the space, their voices raised in passionate argument about humanity's future. Captain Webb stood at the front of the room, trying to maintain order as various factions made their cases. "We can't just hand over our freedom to aliens we've known for less than a day," Chief Petrosky was saying, his voice carrying the frustration of many in the room. "How do we know they're telling the truth about their intentions? For all we know, this oversight could be the first step toward complete domination. And how do we know it isn't?" Dr. Park countered. "These beings have technology that makes us look like children playing with blocks. If they wanted to dominate us, they could have done it already. The fact that they're asking for our consent suggests they actually care about our autonomy." Lieutenant Commander Torres stood up from her seat near the back. "There's another consideration here. Even if we reject their offer and somehow escape this situation, we'll be condemning Earth to cosmic isolation. Is that fair to future generations of humanity? Is it fair to make them subjects of an alien empire?" Petrosky shot back. Sarah listened to the debate while studying the data they'd gathered from the alien research station. The collective's technology was indeed far beyond anything humanity could currently comprehend, but that didn't necessarily make them enemies. The diversity of species she'd seen working together, the incredible scientific achievements they'd accomplished, it painted a picture of a truly cooperative civilization. But was cooperation under alien oversight really cooperation at all? "Sarah," Captain Webb called out, interrupting her thoughts. "You've spent the most time interacting with these aliens. What's your assessment of their trustworthiness?" Sarah stood slowly, feeling the weight of nearly 100 pairs of eyes on her. "Conductor Vexthera and the other beings I've encountered seem genuinely committed to the principles they've described. But I'll admit, we have no way to verify their claims about the fate of other species. We're essentially being asked to take their word for everything. Then we're back to a leap of faith," Webb said grimly. "Either we trust that they mean what they say, or we assume the worst and reject their offer." The ship shuddered slightly, a reminder that they were still drifting toward the black hole's event horizon. Chief Navigator Williams checked his instruments and announced grimly, "We have 4 hours and 17 minutes before we reach the point of no return." The debate continued, but Sarah found herself thinking about the larger implications. Even if they survived this encounter, humanity's future contact with alien civilizations was now inevitable. Earth's radio signals had been traveling through space for over a century. Any sufficiently advanced species would know about humanity's existence and technological development. Maybe we're asking the wrong question, she said suddenly, causing the room to fall silent. We're debating whether to trust these specific aliens. But the real question is, what kind of species do we want humanity to become? She moved to the center of the room, where everyone could see her. The collective isn't just offering us technology. They're offering us a choice between two fundamentally different paths of development. We can remain isolated, developing our technology in secret while always looking over our shoulders for alien interference. Or we can join a galactic community and learn from species that have already faced the challenges we're just beginning to encounter. You're talking about giving up human independence, Petrosky said. I'm talking about growing up, Sarah replied. Every species that achieves interstellar travel faces this choice. Do they try to dominate the galaxy through force, or do they find their place in a larger community? The collective is offering us guidance through that transition. Dr. Park nodded thoughtfully. From a medical perspective, the biological diversity we saw at that research station represents knowledge that could benefit every living thing on Earth. Cures for diseases we've never even imagined, therapies based on completely different approaches to healing. And from an engineering standpoint, Torres added, their gravitational manipulation technology could solve our energy problems permanently. No more burning fossil fuels, no more nuclear waste. Clean, unlimited power drawn directly from the fabric of space-time itself. But Petrosky wasn't convinced. And what happens when we become dependent on their technology? What happens if they decide we're not developing fast enough, or in the right direction? What happens if there's a change in their leadership, or their policies? Sarah had to admit it was a valid concern. Any relationship between species with such different levels of technological development would inevitably involve power imbalances. Maybe the question isn't whether we trust them, she said slowly, but whether we trust ourselves. Do we believe humanity can prove worthy of full membership in a galactic community? Do we believe we can learn to work with cosmic forces rather than trying to dominate them? Captain Webb had been listening quietly to the debate, but now he stood up. I've made a lot of difficult decisions in my career, but this one. He shook his head. This one affects the entire future of our species. I'm not comfortable making it alone. He looked around the room at his crew. I'm calling for a vote. All crew members get an equal say in this decision. Sarah, can you contact Vextera and explain our process? Sarah activated the quantum communication link. Within moments, the alien's mental presence filled her awareness. We wish to hold a democratic vote among our crew, she transmitted. Every person gets an equal voice in deciding humanity's future. Fascinating, Vextera replied. Most species make such decisions through their established power structures. This approach suggests interesting things about human social organization. Can you accept the results of such a vote as representing humanity's choice? The crew of the Horizon's Edge represents a cross-section of your species' most educated and capable individuals. If they cannot make this decision wisely, it suggests your species may not be ready for galactic citizenship regardless of our intervention. Sarah shared Vextera's response with the crew, adding extra weight to their decision. This wasn't just about saving their ship, it was about proving humanity's readiness to join the galactic community. The voting process was simple but solemn. Each crew member submitted their choice anonymously, accept the collective's offer of partnership with oversight, or reject it and face the consequences. Sarah found herself staring at her ballot for long minutes, the weight of the decision paralyzing her. Finally, she made her choice and submitted her vote. Captain Webb tallied the results with Dr. Park and Lieutenant Commander Torres serving as witnesses. When he announced the outcome, his voice was steady but his hands were shaking slightly. By a vote of 54 to 39, the crew of the Horizon's Edge accepts the collective's offer of partnership. Sarah felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. They had chosen the unknown over certain death, cooperation over isolation. But only time would tell whether they had made the right choice for humanity's future. The process of quantum translation from the Horizon's Edge to the collective's flagship was unlike anything Sarah had ever experienced. One moment she was standing in her ship's transporter room, the next she was materializing in a space that seemed to exist between dimensions. The sensation was disconcerting but not unpleasant, like being gently dissolved and reconstituted at the subatomic level. Conductor Vextera was waiting for them, its form more solid and defined than Sarah had seen before. Behind it stood representatives of several other species, each one a testament to the incredible diversity of life in the galaxy. "Welcome aboard the Convergence," Vextera said. "Your crew's decision to accept partnership demonstrates wisdom beyond your species' apparent years. The process of integration begins now." Captain Webb stepped forward, still clearly uncomfortable with the situation but committed to seeing it through. "What exactly does this process involve?" "First, the repair and enhancement of your vessel's quantum engines," replied a being that appeared to be made of living crystal. "I am Engineer Resonance of Stars. Your ship's technology, while primitive, shows promise. We will upgrade your quantum matrix to be compatible with collective standards." "And then?" Webb asked. "Then you return to your homeworld to serve as humanity's first ambassadors to the galactic community," Vextera explained. "You will share the news of our existence and begin preparing your species for eventual full membership in the collective." Sarah felt a thrill of excitement mixed with apprehension. They would be the first humans to bring definitive proof of alien life back to Earth. The implications for human science, philosophy, and culture would be staggering. "What about the oversight you mentioned?" Dr. Park asked. "A collective observation post will be established in your solar system," another being replied. This one was clearly organic but unlike any terrestrial life form, tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to shift between different colors as it spoke. "I am Cultural Monitor Ethes. My role will be to observe human development and provide guidance when requested." "Guidance, not control?" Webb asked pointedly. "The distinction is important to your species," Ethes acknowledged. "We have learned that heavy-handed intervention often breeds resentment and rebellion. Our preference is to allow each species to develop naturally while preventing the most catastrophic mistakes." Engineer Resonance of Stars gestured toward a viewing portal that showed the horizon's edge suspended in what appeared to be a maintenance facility the size of a small moon. "Your ship's repairs have already begun. The process will take approximately 6 of your hours to complete." Sarah watched in fascination as beings of various species worked on her ship. Some appeared to be physical entities using recognizable tools, while others seemed to be manipulating the vessel's structure through direct interface with quantum fields. The work proceeded with an efficiency that spoke of millions of years of experience. "While we wait," Vextera said, "perhaps you would like to see more of what the collective has achieved. Knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied." They were led through corridors that seemed to reshape themselves as they walked, the ship's architecture adapting to the needs of its diverse inhabitants. Sarah saw chambers filled with what could only be described as living art, patterns of energy and matter that shifted and flowed in response to the emotions of those who observed them. "This is the archive of experiences," Ethes explained as they entered a vast chamber that seemed to extend infinitely in all directions. "Every significant discovery, every moment of beauty, every triumph and tragedy experienced by any member species is preserved here for all to share." Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes as she was suddenly overwhelmed by a flood of alien emotions, the joy of a crystalline being discovering a new mathematical theorem, the wonder of a gaseous entity witnessing the birth of a star, the grief of an aquatic species mourning the loss of their homeworld to stellar evolution. "This is what we offer humanity," Vextera said gently. "Not just technology, but wisdom. The accumulated experiences of 47 different species, each one contributing their unique perspective to our collective understanding of existence." Captain Webb was examining what appeared to be a historical display showing the development of various species over millions of years. "How many civilizations have you encountered that chose isolation over integration?" 17, Vextera replied without hesitation. "Some were genuinely peaceful but preferred solitude. Others were too aggressive to safely integrate. Still others were simply not ready for the responsibilities that come with galactic citizenship." "What happened to them?" The peaceful isolationists are left alone, though we monitor their development and occasionally make new offers of contact. The aggressive species are contained within their systems of origin until they either evolve beyond their violent tendencies or don't. Sarah didn't like the implications of that pause. And the ones that aren't ready? They continue to develop in isolation until they either achieve readiness or destroy themselves. It is unfortunate but common. Most species face a critical period where their technology advances faster than their wisdom. Those who survive this period often join us. Those who do not. The archive around them shifted, showing images of dead worlds and empty space where civilizations had once thrived. Sarah realized she was looking at the graveyard of species that had failed to make the transition to galactic citizenship. "Is this our fate if we prove unworthy?" she asked quietly. "No," Ethes replied firmly. "Your species has already demonstrated wisdom by accepting our guidance. The period of oversight is designed to help you navigate the dangerous transition period safely. Most species graduate to full independence within a few centuries. And those who don't? Those who consistently demonstrate that they cannot be trusted with advanced technology must remain under permanent supervision," Bextera said. "It is regrettable, but necessary for the safety of all." Sarah felt a chill, but she reminded herself that humanity had chosen this path. They had decided that the benefits of galactic citizenship outweighed the risks of alien oversight. A soft chime indicated that their ship's repairs were complete. Engineer Resonance of Stars materialized beside them, its crystalline form pulsing with satisfaction. "The Horizon's Edge has been successfully upgraded. Your quantum engines are now compatible with collective navigation systems, and we have installed emergency beacon transmitters that will allow us to locate your vessel anywhere in the galaxy." Captain Webb nodded his thanks, though Sarah could see the mixed emotions in his expression. Their ship was now more advanced than any human technology, but it was also tagged for alien monitoring. "There is one more gift we would offer," Bextera said as they prepared to return to their ship. "Dr. Chin, your unique ability to interface with quantum systems makes you an ideal candidate for neural enhancement. We could expand your capabilities, allowing you to communicate directly with any collective technology." Sarah felt her heart racing. The offer was incredibly tempting, the chance to interface directly with alien technology that could manipulate reality itself. But it would also make her something more than human, or perhaps less than human. What would this enhancement involve? Quantum processing nodes would be integrated with your neural tissue, allowing your consciousness to interface directly with space-time manipulation systems. You would become a living link between human and collective technology. Sarah looked at Captain Webb, seeing her own uncertainty reflected in his eyes. "What are the risks?" "Minimal physical risk," Engineer Resonance of Stars replied. "But the psychological effects are significant. Your consciousness would be permanently expanded, making it difficult to relate to unenhanced humans. You would become something new, no longer purely human, but not fully alien either." Sarah realized this was another test, another choice that would determine humanity's future relationship with the collective. If she accepted the enhancement, it would demonstrate human willingness to evolve and adapt. If she refused, it might suggest that humanity was too attached to its current form to become true partners in the galactic community. "I need time to think about this," she said finally. "Of course. But know that the offer will remain open. When humanity is ready to take the next step in its evolution, we will be here to guide you." As they returned to the horizon's edge, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about the choice before her. The neural enhancement would allow her to help guide humanity's integration into the galactic community, but it would also make her something fundamentally different from her own species. Was this the price of progress? And if so, was it worth paying? The upgraded horizon's edge cut through space-time with an elegance that took Sarah's breath away. Where their original quantum engines had torn crude holes in the fabric of reality, the collective enhanced systems worked in harmony with the fundamental forces of the universe. Space seemed to flow around them like water around a fish, carrying them toward home at speeds that made their previous faster-than-light capabilities look glacial. "ETA to Sol System, 14 hours," Chief Navigator Williams reported, his voice carrying a mixture of wonder and disbelief. At this rate, we could travel to the galactic core and back in less time than our original mission was supposed to take. Captain Webb nodded, but Sarah could see the tension in his shoulders. They were returning to Earth as fundamentally changed people, carrying news that would revolutionize human civilization. The weight of that responsibility was visible in every member of the crew. "Have you decided about the enhancement?" Dr. Park asked Sarah quietly as they stood together on the observation deck, watching stars slip past at impossible speeds. Sarah touched the small quantum communicator that Vextera had given her, a device that would allow instant communication with the collective regardless of distance. "I keep going back and forth. The rational part of me knows it would be beneficial for humanity. Someone needs to serve as a bridge between our species and theirs. But once I accept the enhancement, I'll never be fully human again. I'll be something new, something in between. Is it fair to ask that sacrifice of anyone?" Dr. Park was quiet for a long moment. "In medical school, they taught us about the early pioneers of surgical techniques. Many of them volunteered to test procedures on themselves, knowing the risks. They did it because someone had to be first, someone had to make the sacrifice that would benefit everyone who came after." Sarah understood the parallel, but it didn't make the choice any easier. The neural enhancement would allow her to interface directly with collective technology, making her an invaluable asset in humanity's integration process. But it would also fundamentally alter her consciousness in ways that couldn't be reversed. "There's something else," she said. "Vextera mentioned that enhanced individuals sometimes have difficulty relating to their original species. What if the process doesn't just change my capabilities? What if it changes who I am? What if I stop caring about humanity the way I do now?" "Then you wouldn't be the person I know," Dr. Park replied. "The Sarah Chen I've worked with for 3 years would never lose sight of what's important. Enhancement or not, I don't think that will change." Their conversation was interrupted by an alert from the bridge. Captain Webb's voice echoed through the intercom. "All senior staff to the bridge immediately. We have a situation." Sarah and Dr. Park made their way quickly through the ship's corridors, finding the bridge in a state of controlled tension. On the main screen, long-range sensors showed something that made Sarah's blood run cold: a fleet of ships in Earth orbit, ships that clearly weren't human in origin. "How long have they been there?" Webb demanded. "Unknown, sir," Lieutenant Commander Torres replied from the tactical station. "They're using some kind of stealth technology that our sensors can't penetrate. We only detected them when we got close enough for the collective systems to recognize their signatures." Sarah activated her quantum communicator, reaching out to Vextera across the vast distance between them. "Conductor, we're detecting alien ships in Earth orbit. Are they collective vessels?" "Negative," came the immediate reply. "Those signatures belong to the Hegemony, a militant alliance that opposes collective expansion. They must have detected your ship's enhanced systems and traced you back to your homeworld." Sarah felt her heart sink. "Are they hostile?" "Extremely. The Hegemony believes that the collective's policy of peaceful integration is a sign of weakness. They prefer conquest and subjugation. If they have reached your world first..." The communication cut off, leaving Sarah with a growing sense of dread. They had thought they were bringing humanity a gift, the chance to join a peaceful galactic community. Instead, they might have led a hostile alien force directly to Earth. "Captain," Sarah said urgently, "we need to contact Earth immediately. The ships in orbit belong to something called the Hegemony. They're hostile to the collective and probably to us." Webb's face went pale. "Communications, open a channel to Earth Defense Command." "Sir, I'm getting interference from the alien ships. They're jamming our communications." Sarah realized the situation was even worse than she'd feared. The Hegemony wasn't just observing Earth. They were actively preventing human communication, isolating the planet before beginning whatever they had planned. "Can the collective help?" Webb asked. Sarah tried to re-establish contact with Vextera, but found only silence. Whatever jamming technology the Hegemony was using, it was sophisticated enough to block even quantum communication. "We're on our own," she said grimly. Chief Engineer Petrosky spoke up from his station. Captain, the collective upgrades included some defensive systems. We're not helpless here. Against an entire fleet? Maybe not against the whole fleet, but we might be able to get through their jamming and warn Earth. If nothing else, we can serve as proof that friendly aliens exist, give humanity something to hope for if things go badly. Sarah made her decision. Captain, I'm accepting the neural enhancement. If we're going to face the hegemony, we need every advantage we can get. Sarah, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Someone has to be able to interface with our new systems at full capacity. Someone has to be the bridge between human and collective technology. If I don't do it now, there might not be another chance. Webb nodded slowly. Dr. Park, can you perform the procedure? The collective provided detailed instructions. It's actually remarkably straightforward. The quantum processing nodes are designed to integrate seamlessly with human neural tissue. An hour later, Sarah lay on a medical table as Dr. Park carefully implanted the quantum nodes at strategic points throughout her brain. The procedure was surprisingly painless, but as the nodes activated, Sarah felt her consciousness expanding in ways she hadn't imagined possible. Suddenly, she could feel the ship's quantum engines like an extension of her own nervous system. She could sense the space-time distortions around them, feel the gravitational currents, and quantum fluctuations that permeated local space. More importantly, she could perceive the hegemony ships in Earth orbit with unprecedented clarity. "My God!" she whispered, her enhanced senses revealing the true scope of the threat. "There are hundreds of them. And they're not just observing, they're setting up some kind of bombardment array." Captain Webb leaned over her. "Can you break through their jamming?" Sarah reached out with her enhanced consciousness, feeling for weaknesses in the hegemony's communication blackout. The effort was exhausting, like trying to push through thick mud with her mind, but gradually she found a narrow gap in their defenses. "Earth Defense Command, this is the research vessel Horizon's Edge," she transmitted, using her neural link to boost the signal. "We are inbound with critical intelligence about the alien presence in Earth orbit. Do not engage the hostile ships, you cannot defeat them with current technology. Repeat, do not engage." The response was immediate. "Horizon's Edge, this is Admiral Chen of Earth Defense Command. Explain your knowledge of these vessels immediately." Sarah felt a moment of shock. Admiral Chen was her father, commander of Earth's Space Defense Forces. Of all the people to receive their warning, it had to be him. "Admiral, the ships in orbit belong to a hostile alien alliance called the Hegemony. They are far more advanced than human technology. Earth's survival depends on avoiding direct confrontation until help arrives." "Help from whom? And how do you have this information?" "We made contact with a peaceful alien alliance called the Collective. They're en route to assist, but they may not arrive in time. Earth's only chance is to avoid giving the Hegemony an excuse to attack." There was a long pause before her father's voice came back, carefully controlled. "Understood, Horizon's Edge. We will hold our position and await your arrival." "But daughter, what have you gotten us into?" Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her enhanced consciousness. Humanity's first contact with alien life had become a race against time, with Earth caught between two opposing galactic powers. "I don't know, Dad," she transmitted quietly. "But we're about to find out." 1 year later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of Confluence Station Alpha, humanity's first orbital facility built with alien technology. Through the transparent walls, she could see Earth spinning peacefully below, no longer alone in the universe but not yet truly part of the galactic community. The crisis with the hegemony had been resolved, though not without cost. The collective fleet had arrived just as the hostile ships began their bombardment of Earth's major cities. The battle that followed had been brief but devastating, entire mountain ranges reshaped by weapons that manipulated matter at the quantum level, oceans boiled by directed gravitational pulses, an atmosphere stripped from small islands by technologies that violated everything humans thought they knew about physics. But Earth had survived, and humanity had proven itself worthy of collective protection. The hegemony ships had been driven off, their threat neutralized for now. The price had been acceptance of a permanent collective presence in the Sol system and agreement to the 1,000-year oversight period originally proposed. Sarah's neural enhancements had made her the primary liaison between humanity and their alien protectors. She could interface directly with collective technology, translate between human and alien thought patterns, and serve as a bridge between two very different forms of consciousness. But the enhancements had also changed her in ways she was still discovering. "The monthly progress report from Earth looks promising," Conductor Vextera said, materializing beside her in its usual disconcerting way. "Fusion power generation is up 30%, and your scientists are making remarkable progress in understanding gravitational manipulation." Sarah nodded, reviewing the data streams that flowed directly into her enhanced consciousness. "They're adapting faster than anyone expected. Sometimes I think humanity needed this crisis to push us to grow." "All species require catalysts for growth," Vextera replied. "The fortunate ones find peaceful catalysts. Others require more dramatic incentives." Through the station's communication array, Sarah could monitor dozens of ongoing projects across Earth and throughout the solar system. Humans were working alongside collective scientists to terraform Mars using gravitational engineering, establishing research stations in the asteroid belt, and preparing for their first expeditions to nearby star systems under alien guidance. But there were problems too. Not all of humanity had accepted their new reality gracefully. Resistance movements had formed in several countries, groups that saw the alien presence as occupation rather than protection. Some religious leaders proclaimed the aliens to be demons, while others declared them to be angels. Political systems strained under the pressure of managing humanity's transition to galactic citizenship. "Do you ever regret your choice?" Vextera asked, seeming to sense her conflicted thoughts. Sarah considered the question carefully. The neural enhancements had given her capabilities beyond any humans, but they had also isolated her from her own species in ways she hadn't anticipated. She could still feel human emotions, still care deeply about humanity's welfare, but there was a distance now that hadn't existed before. "Sometimes," she admitted, "I can interface with your technology, translate between our species, serve as a bridge between two forms of consciousness. But I'm also something that has never existed before, either fully human nor fully alien. There are times when I feel very alone. Loneliness is the price of transformation," Vextera said gently. "But remember, you are not unique in this experience. Every species that joins the collective produces individuals who serve as bridges between their original nature and their enhanced potential. You have peers throughout the galaxy, if you choose to seek them out." Sarah was intrigued by the possibility. She had been so focused on serving as humanity's liaison that she hadn't considered the existence of others like her, beings who had accepted enhancement to serve their species' greater good. "Perhaps someday I will," she said. "But for now, humanity needs me here." "Indeed they do. Your species shows remarkable potential, Sarah Chin. In time, I believe they will prove to be one of our most valuable member civilizations. And if they don't?" Vextera's form seemed to darken slightly. "Then they will join the 17 species currently under permanent oversight. But I do not believe that will be necessary. Humanity has already demonstrated wisdom beyond its apparent years." A communication alert interrupted their conversation. Sarah's enhanced consciousness immediately identified the source, Captain Webb aboard the Horizon's Edge, which was currently conducting humanity's first joint exploration mission with collective partners. "Sarah, we've found something." Webb's voice carried excitement and concern in equal measure. "Long-range sensors are detecting structures around Proxima Centauri that don't match any known collective architecture. We need your expertise to determine if they're artificial." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Humanity's expansion into the galaxy was revealing that it was even stranger and more complex than anyone had imagined. New mysteries waited around every star, new forms of life that challenged every assumption about what was possible. "On my way, Captain," she replied, already moving toward the station's quantum transportation hub. As she prepared to join the exploration mission, Sarah reflected on the path that had brought her here. They had set out to explore the galaxy and instead found themselves in the middle of a cosmic conflict between opposing philosophies of galactic civilization. They had faced the choice between isolation and integration, between independence and guidance. The choice they made had saved Earth but transformed humanity forever. Now they were no longer alone in the universe, but they were also no longer entirely in control of their own destiny. It was a trade-off that would define human civilization for generations to come. Sarah stepped into the quantum translator, feeling reality dissolve around her as she was transmitted across space to join humanity's next great adventure. Whatever they found at Proxima Centauri, whatever new mysteries awaited them among the stars, they would face them together, human and alien, working side by side to unlock the secrets of the universe. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humanity was finally ready to explore it properly. Not as conquerors or destroyers, but as partners in the greatest adventure of all, the quest to understand the infinite complexity and beauty of existence itself. As Sarah materialized aboard the horizon's edge, she smiled at the thought of what lay ahead. They had come so far from that first desperate moment, when they were trapped by Charybdis 7's gravity well. Now they were citizens of the galaxy, protected by ancient alliances and enhanced by technologies that seemed like magic. The future was uncertain, but it was bright with possibility. And for the first time since her enhancement, Sarah felt truly at peace with the choice she had made. Humanity's real journey was just beginning.